Just when we thought we weren't going to hear anything else about Diddy until October, well, he just put in another request saying he wants let out of jail now. Diddy was acquitted on most of his charges, but he was found guilty of 2 transportation to engage in prostitution charges. After Diddy was found guilty on those 2 charges, the judge determined that day that he was not going to let Diddy out on bail while he waited for a sentencing hearing because he said his violent nature. Now, the judge said even in Diddy's arguments, he admitted to his violent nature, but he said the main thing that made him want to deny Diddy's bail is the fact that Diddy still had violent nature with Jane in 2024 when he knew that the investigation into him was still ongoing. Today, Diddy is shooting a shot again, hoping that he'll get let out of jail on bail while he waits for his sentencing hearing on October 3rd of 2025. Listing a couple reasons why they believe that Diddy should be let out on bail, so let's get into it. First, start talking about the Mann Act, which is what Diddy was prosecuted of and how it's been prosecuted over the last several decades, and it indicates the exceptional, indeed unique nature of Diddy's case. Diddy is saying his 2 charges under the Mann Act are very unique because he was never profiting financially from these male workers that he was using with Cassie and Jane. The prosecution and the continued incarceration of Sean Combs are unique in history of the Mann Act. There has literally never been a case like this one, where a person and his girlfriend arranged for adult men to have consensual relations with adult long-term girlfriends as part of demonstrated swinger lifestyle, which he has been prosecuted for and incarcerated for under the Mann Act. Combs and 2 of his longtime girlfriends had a private, intimate life that is not uncommon today. On to claim that the Department of Justice has limited its application to prosecute under the Mann Act to people profiting financially from the businesses of prostitution, and not only using it to prosecute consensual adults for their own lifestyles. Diddy went on to say that Cassie Ventura and him went to swingers clubs and they had 3-people relationships. Miss Ventura consistently expressed interest and enthusiasm in her intimate life with Mr. Combs, including what they call freak-offs. Jane and Sean Combs also had 3-people physical relations as well. When Jane and Mr. Combs watched adult videos together, Jane testified that she contacted 2 different male workers and invited them to join her and Mr. Combs. Both Miss Ventura and Jane testified that they very often would see the same men over and over again for years. On to quote Jane's testimony, where she said she suggested to Mr. Combs that they call Paul. And then Jane explains that she told Mr. Combs she missed Paul. When Jane was asked why did she say that, she responded, "Because I did." This was a lifestyle, one that both Miss Ventura and Jane chose. The jury listened closely to all the evidence concerning these 2 relationships at the center of this sprawling racketeering conspiracy indictment, and the jury acquitted Mr. Combs of all the serious counts and almost all of the charged conduct. The jury concluded that Miss Ventura and Jane were not forced, coerced, or defrauded into having these physical relations, but it did conclude that there was prostitution. That the payment for the Cowboys for Angels workers, the adult film stars, and others amounted to physical relations for money, despite what the only 2 escorts called by the government testified about. In the lifestyle that Mr. Combs and other adults voluntarily chose, Mr. Combs would be called a swinger, but in the vocabulary of the Mann Act or of the prostitution charges, he might at worst be called a John. And they go on to describe a John, and it's someone who pays to have physical relations with a male worker. On to say that Sean Combs should not be in jail for this conduct. In fact, he may be the only person currently in the United States in jail for being any sort of John, and currently the only person in jail for hiring adult male workers for him and his girlfriend, when he did not even have physical relations conversations with the escorts himself. They go on to say that Sean Combs remaining in jail for being convicted of being a customer of consensual adult services makes this case truly exceptional. Not only is prosecuting the users of adult services inconsistent with the Mann Act, it's inconsistent with the prosecution policies of the district's attorneys of Manhattan and the city attorney of Los Angeles, California, two of the three locations where this prost-up allegedly took place. In addition, Mr. Combs is incarcerated while everyone else involved in the conduct, his girlfriends, the cowboys, the agency leaders, the adult stars, and others walk free, as they should. The result, this court should release him on a reasonable condition in advance of sentencing scheduled for October 3rd. Go on to say that Combs' nearly 11-month detention at the MDC is exceptional circumstances on why he should be released waiting for sentencing. To talk about other cases, calling the MDC dreadful in many respects, but these warrant particular emphasis. He said there is continued reports of periods of lockdowns, claims that the facility provides inadequate or delayed necessary medical care, and this case is at particular risk of this. General issues about the conditions at the facility. As the court is aware, during Mr. Combs' incarceration at the MDC, the facility was subject to an interagency sweep that was designed to achieve our shared goal of maintaining a safe environment for both our employees and the incarcerated individuals housed at the MDC Brooklyn. In other words, there is a significant issue at the MDC related to the safety of the employees and the incarcerated individuals that require outside law enforcement action from multiple agencies to address. Importantly, MDC as a jail has a significant law enforcement present within its walls 24 hours per day that are equipped with investigatory and often unregulated authority. Thus, the requirement of the outside law enforcement agencies to ensure the safety within the MDC is an admission that there is serious violence, mayhem, and chaos that is occurring within the MDC that requires more than a band-aid, but rather surgery. We are aware of the ongoing threats of violence and actual violence in the facility, such that Mr. Combs' safety is constantly at risk. They go on to say that the most problematic thing to Mr. Combs about being locked in the MDC is the unchecked violence at the facility. Though Mr. Combs has been a model inmate for nearly his year-long period of confinement, the violent conditions are still very much a concern for Mr. Combs and his unnecessary confinement risk. Sean Combs is not a risk of flight, nor is he a danger in the community or to any specific people. We turn our attention to the government's argument and the court statements on July 2nd of 2025, and that's when they denied Diddy getting out the first time, saying that he is a violent person. The court noted the defense admitted a history of domestic violence as to Cassie Ventura and that he struck Jane twice in June of 2024. However, we object that Mr. Combs poses a danger to the community if released on conditions. Based on the facts developed at trial, aside from a single instance on June 18th of 2024, where Mr. Combs was provoked by Jane through her own acts of violence, there is no evidence to any acts of violence in the last 7 years. They also said that Diddy enrolled in a domestic violence program, which he participated in until he was arrested and incarcerated with connection with this case. Then they start laying out the proposed bail package. Combs will sign a $50 million bond secured by his home in Miami. The bond will be co-signed by 3 financial responsible people. Combs will reside in his home in Miami. Combs' travel will be limited to the Southern District of Florida, the Southern District of New York for attorney meetings, as well as airports necessary to travel between the two. He will be placed under express supervision by the U.S. Pretrial Services and also surrender his passport to pretrial services. They tell the judge they'll agree to anything else that the judge wants him to do if they let him out. But y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.